We're here at the Royal Dublin Golf Club to meet with Ireland's captain for the European Ryder Cup team later this year, Paul McGinley, in town courtesy of Aer Lingus, and he's spending 20 minutes with us to look forward to this year's Ryder Cup and also to talk a little bit about the US Open this weekend. Paul McGinley, I'm delighted that you're with us today, but I would have thought you would have been at the US Open.
Well, you can learn a lot from watching TV, as you know. But,
can you learn more about golf from watching television than being on the course?
To be honest, at this stage, Matt, it's not about learning. You know, I know the players. I know how good they are. I know how well they play. And it's about performances and it's about results. There's 9 positions up for grabs in terms of qualifying for the team. And it's the results that count now at this stage. And now we're getting into the nitty-gritty of it. We're getting into form. There's 3 majors in a very short space of time: the US Open, the British Open, and then the US PGA, plus the world event in Firestone as well too. So there's 4 huge counting events, as well as the Irish Open and French and Scottish, and there's a lot to be played for. So we'll kind of watch results more so than actually watch golf.
Do you expect there to be much change in the leaderboard for winning the places on the team?
Yeah, there will be, because there's so many points available. Though, particularly the 3 majors and the world event, huge points available.
Although presumably your players who are near the top of the leaderboard already are those you'd expect to be picking up more points at those events.
Yeah, but guys who are just on the periphery, you know, there's guys that maybe put themselves all of a sudden into the mix who haven't been in the mix before, and there's so many points available in those events that you can easily propel yourself right into it. And then, not alone, even if you don't make it from there, at least you've showed a lot of form, and if you can back it up with some more big performances, well then they're the kind of guys you'll be looking at as a potential pick.
When in your time, when you were trying to get on the team, I mean, how much was it when you went out to play tournaments that in your mind you were trying to pick up as many points as possible to get on the Ryder Cup team?
Oh, for me it was all about points. I knew, you know, not being one of the top 6 players in any of the teams that I played in, I always knew that I really had to make it myself, qualify for it, and I did, fortunately, 3 times. And I knew that if I just missed out, the odds were against me potentially being a pick, particularly with some of the big players who were going to miss out as well too. So I was very much focused on making a team, and it's kind of the message that I'm trying to give the players. You know, make the team. You know, don't give yourself an opportunity of missing out on this Ryder Cup. Make the team. Destiny's in your hands. Don't be relying on a pick.
How much contact do you have with the players during the season?
Regular, but very short. I was over to the TPC in Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago, and there were 17 guys on the list that were playing there that I thought were potential Ryder Cup players, all European, obviously. And I made a point of spending at least 5 minutes with all of them, and some I spent more with them. Martin Keimer, who ended up winning the tournament, just happened to walk 2 holes with him one morning on practice round, and Sergio the same, and Thomas the same. Was other guys like Francisco Molinari. It was a 5-minute thing, and only because he was rushing to his tee time and I didn't want to disturb him.
Do they really want to talk to you when they're at a tournament? Are they so focused on their tournament?
I'd like to think I pick my moments. I think I know enough about golf to pick when to approach a guy and when not. And I'd never approach a guy before he went out to play. I'd always approach him after he played. But again, it's kind of... I was up in Donegal a few weeks ago, and a local farmer made a great point to me. He says, a bit like herding sheep, you're kind of pushing everybody along and not letting anybody stray. And that's kind of really what it's like. You know, you want to communicate with everybody, push everybody, encourage them all. But at the same time, you know, you don't want to over-communicate.
Yeah, and do you feel entitled to talk to them about their form or about particular aspects of their play? Would you pass on any hints or anything to them?
No, it's not for me to tell them what to do or how to go about it. I mean, I've said it a number of times, you know, I'm Ryder Cup captain, I'm not God. All of a sudden, I'm not this magic power bestowed on me to tell everybody how they should play their game and how they should rule their life and run their life. Far from it. My job is to pick 3 players and put in place a system that's going to identify the leading 9 European players and hopefully win the Ryder Cup. That's as simple as it is.
Okay, so the 3 picks. When do you have to make those 3 picks? How close to tournament date is it?
They'll be announced in September 2nd of September.
How much pressure do you think you're going to be under when it comes to making those picks?
It'll be tough, no doubt about it. Every previous captain has said how difficult it is to make the picks, and particularly when you become, you know, I'm 22 years on tour now, and you get to know the guys so well personally, and It's going to be tough, and some of those guys are going to miss out. But when you take Ryder Cup captaincy, you just don't take the good bits and let somebody else do the other bits. It's going to be tough, but that's all right. I'll be ready for that.
But is there lobbying that goes on by the players themselves, or by their agents, or by their coaches? Do you get pressure? Will it have previous captains had pressure put on them? Do you anticipate that you might?
I've never heard of it. I haven't heard of it yet. If you ask me that question in 2 months, I might give you a different answer. But I don't expect that, to be honest. I'm watching. I'm very much my own. I have my own mind made up regarding the picks. I got Sam Torrance and Des Smith who will be vice captains, and they will certainly have a big input on who the picks will be as well too. And I rely on those. I've got statistics team working behind the scenes, gathering information, collating data over the last kind of 14 months now.
To be put to what use?
Just to kind of push me in a certain direction. There's certain things that I'm looking for in the statistics that will identify potential players in the team. I've obviously analysed past results and players' records in match play events and in Ryder Cup events and in team events, and all that kind of information we'll be putting into the pot, and from there we'll come out with hopefully 3 good picks.
And how important then is the issue of character as well, that somebody will be able to fit into a team ethos, because golf is one of the ultimate individual sports?
Yeah, character is important, obviously hugely important, but it's not the be-all and end-all. You can have a very quiet guy who kind of goes about his business and maybe only might have to be in regular contact with 2 or 3 players out of the 12. He doesn't have to be best buddies with all 11 or a very popular figure. If he kind of, his link in the chain, if he performs that very well, and yet he may only want to be isolated to 2 or 3 players, well, that's also a very good team player as well too. It doesn't have to be he doesn't have to be the life and soul of the team in order to be a good character.
Having done it and having been so successful yourself at Ryder Cup level, how important is that to establishing your credentials with the players?
Yeah, I'd like to think it is. My record in Ryder Cups is obviously very strong, and team events in general has been very strong, from World Cups to Dunhill Cups to Sevi trophies, Royal trophies, and Ryder Cups. My records have been strong.
And why is that, do you think? Why?
I don't know. I mean, some psychologists might answer that better than I can, but I certainly I felt for some reason, I don't know why, and I personally think it's some connection to my growing up here in Dublin in the GA background, and I really have a strong affinity for that. I mean, even going to GA matches now, I have a very strong emotion when I go through the gates of any GA match now still, because it brings me back to very happy times when I was a child growing up in Dublin and a teenager as well too. So whereas most guys feel more pressure part of a team, I always felt less pressure and a kind of shared sense of responsibility, and as a result I seem to play to a level with less pressure than I did when I played individually.
Is it true that you brought Jim McGuinness in for some help?
Jim's a friend of ours. No, he's not in for some help. He's a friend of mine, and he's a guy that I've been lucky to share a number of dinners and chats with him over the last probably 4 years now. He's a good friend of my dad's, great friend of my dad's. They speak regularly, and obviously dad's from Donegal, and very strong Donegal, and my Dublin connections as well too. But I've got to know Jim very well and learn a lot from him, and particularly when he won the All-Ireland a couple of years ago, to be able to sit riding shotgun and listen to him, how his team was evolving, how he was dealing with issues, how he was planning tactically to play against each team, and being privy to a lot of those private conversations was a big learning curve for me.
He's a very dominant character. He also tends to sort of set down very, very strong standards for players that he wants them to match up to. That's with an amateur team. I mean, could you emulate that with the professional golfers in the Ryder Cup, or do superstars need to be handled a bit differently to Donegal footballers?
No, I mean, team is a team at the end of the day, but it's a very different scenario. Jim has got the players more or less. I know they have their club commitments, but he more or less has them year on year in training sessions every week leading up to matches, and then if they win that, they go on to the next match and league campaigns and that. So he's regular contact with the players. Ryder Cup captain doesn't, once every 2 years you have a week where the team is you have the players and you work towards it. So there's only so much I can do, and it's one of the reasons I don't want to put a whole lot of structure around the players, because it's a little bit it'd be a little bit unfair, me coming in and all of a sudden having all these ideas that this is how we're going to implement everything, and we only have this short space of time together.
It strikes me, it's almost like sort of fantasy football manager to a certain extent, that the Ryder Cup captain gets to be, that there you are on the 3 days deciding who you're going to send out of the singles or the pairings on the first 2 days, the order that you put the singles in. It almost sounds like the type of thing that a kid would love to do, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, in simplest forms, it is. It's a lot of excitement, and it is an exciting time in my life to be Ryder Cup captain, and particularly when your peers vote you in to be the captain. It really is a humbling honour to have that at pretty much the twilight of your career. I'm looking forward to it, but I'm very much along the lines of, I've been very lucky to be involved in 5 Ryder Cups now, 3 as a player, 2 as a vice captain. All of those have had positive results, so we won all 5. And I've been very privy to a template there of success as to why we've won those. It's not coincidence. It's not just because we have great players. There is a template there handed down from captain to captain, and I feel I've been lucky with that. And I see my job as identifying that template, enhancing it, making it better, and rolling it out again.
Do you see yourself being as emotional as Jose Maria Latival was?
I don't think anybody can be as emotional as him. I mean, it was a very difficult Ryder Cup for him at so many levels, because Seve had obviously just passed away, and his great affinity and affection with that. And the media, particularly in America that week over there, had played a huge play on Seve and his connection with the captain, with Jose Maria. So everywhere you looked that week, there was a reference to Seve and photographs of the two of them together. So that was very difficult for him. And he's an emotional guy anyway, and he very much captained by emotion. And it was one of the reasons why we were able to come back from such a massive deficit on this Sunday.
How are you going to handle the media pressure when it comes on, particularly when you're up against Tom Watson with all the majors and whatever, and the way the British media at times can be quite tough if they start saying, well, this Watson has won this, won that, McGinley, Ryder Cup, great, but didn't win anything on an individual level. How will you cope with that?
To be honest, I'm not that bothered about it. Tom Watson was my hero when I was a boy growing up here in Dublin. He still is to a large extent. I know he's going to bring a lot of integrity to the week, and hopefully I can match that kind of integrity and act as in the same kind of way that he's going to act. But ultimately, it's not Paul McGinley against Tom Watson. It's 12 players against 12 players. Yes, we're captained by both, but I'm not hitting a golf ball about him. The Ryder Cup is not about how many wagers he won and how many majors I won. The Ryder Cup's about motivating 12 players and going out and letting those 12 players beat the other 12 players. And so it's quite different. It's not apples with apples comparing to Tom Watson.
Okay, now one of the other things, of course, which always gets a lot of publicity around the Ryder Cup are the wives and girlfriends turning up. And I think there's been some suggestion that they look sometimes like Stepford wives, all in identical uniforms going out. Are you going to have the same thing with your wives and girlfriends for the players?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it's one of the things that my wife will be involved in. She's, again, like me, she's been involved in the 5 Ryder Cups, so she knows what it's all about. She's not a girl who likes to be leading from the front. She kind of likes to be one of the girls and somebody else take the lead. So it's going to be difficult for her. It's a challenge for her to be out the front. But she will, she'll do her bit, and she'll do it in an understated way, and she won't do it in a very high profile way. I can assure you that.
And what about who's Rory McIlroy going to bring? Is that going to be an issue for you? The media is going to start focusing on, does Rory McIlroy have a girlfriend with him there? Well,
if he does, he does. No problem. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I mean, players have gone to Ryder Cups with wives, with girlfriends, with no wives, on their own. So whatever.
But has a golfer ever had as high a profile for his personal relationships as Rory McIlroy?
No, I think Tiger would argue.
Tiger Woods, honestly. But have you considered this whole thing with Rory as to whether there could be distractions?
It's not really an issue. I have bigger things to consider, Matt, to be quite honest. It's not a big deal for me.
What do you make of his form at present, and what do you think of him going into the US Open this weekend?
His form is great. Obviously, a great win. He's had a great year. Great year. Anybody who follows form, I mean, we all love to follow the horses here in Ireland. And if you were following form over the first 4 months of the year, it was odds on that he was going to win a tournament sooner rather than later. And he did. And he came through strongly in the Sunday in Wentworth and won there. And it was no surprise, because if you've been following form, he's had an incredibly consistent year up to Wentworth. And then he went and he had his win. And obviously he's now hoping to add some majors to what he's won already.
How good do you still think he can be? Because, all the hype a couple of years ago when he made the breakthrough, and then he's been perhaps a little bit inconsistent, would it be fair to say, having lost the number 1 spot in the world?
Well, I don't think it's any coincidence that if you talk to anybody in the professional game, from the top journalists to the top players to Tiger Woods to anybody who's involved in the professional game on the inside, the real people who are influential on the inside and know the game inside out, they all have a common opinion that Rory McIlroy is one of the best talents the game has ever seen. So this is not just an Irish thing or us trying to blow him up or anybody trying to blow him up, the media trying to blow him up. Everybody within the game would have a similar opinion. So he is that talented, and there's no doubt that he's going to be around for quite a while. He's got an immense talent, and he's already proved it quite a lot. He's still only 24, and there's a whole life ahead of him still.
There is, of course, the other great Irish success in recent years, and Graham McDowell will almost certainly be part of your Ryder Cup team. He should be there. But Patrick Harrington, who, of course, you won a World Cup with back in the 1990s, 3-time major winner, but he's had such a disappointing time in recent years. Do you think, is Patrick ever going to get it back to where he used to be?
Well, we don't know. Nobody knows that. But, you know, fingers crossed, you never know. I mean, certainly, you know, they asked me the question earlier about you know, is anybody out of the equation yet? And you know, nobody's out of the equation. You know, if Patrick Harrington goes and wins the Open Championship and then plays very well after that, why would I not want Patrick Harrington on the team? You know, with his record and with his performances in the past under pressure, and also his Ryder Cup performances. So nobody's out of the equation, and I think his game is still strong enough, and it's just a matter of a little bit of confidence that we all need.
But what is, confidence? Is that the big issue in golf? I mean, what is when Patrick is still such a good player and thinks about it so much, and yet he doesn't get the rewards and the results that he used to get? Yeah,
that's just what happens, you know, in sports careers, whether you be a footballer or a boxer or a golfer or an athlete, you know, you go through peaks and troughs. And also, when you get into your 40s, very few people have the best part of their career when they're in their 40s, and that's where Patrick is now too. So,
But why is that? Because you would have thought with experience, would you not actually sort of be a bit more nerveless as you go into your 40s?
You would think so, but no player's done. From Jack Nicklaus right down, nobody plays their best golf when they're in their 40s. I mean, Miguel Jimenez, yes, you can say he's playing very well now and he's in his 50s, but you know, Miguel hasn't won a major championship, 3 major championships like Patrick has. So, you know, is it wear and tear on the mind? You know, the success that you have to, the levels you have to reach to win major championships? I don't know. But no player in history has seemed to play the best part of his career in his 40s and win consistently major championships in his 40s. And Patrick is no different.
Is that a sign just of how tough a game mentally golf is?
It is, yeah, it is. But I know Patrick very well since I was 17, 18 years of age, before that even. And, you know, we went to the same school together. And one thing I've learned about Patrick over the years, you never ever write him off.
And I think everyone wants him because everyone likes him so much. Everyone would love to see him coming back and achieving something big again.
Yeah, he's a likeable guy, very likeable guy. And as I say, I wouldn't write him off, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him popping up and having a bit of win. And then if he has a bit of a win, that little bit of confidence might drive him on again. So there's still a lot of mileage left in the tank yet.
How much golf are you playing at present with these Ryder Cup commitments?
Not as much as I'd like. I'll probably play a half schedule this year, which is about 13 events. I'm looking forward now to playing 4 in a row coming up, which will be great, starting with the Irish Open. That's going to be fun to be out there playing. I haven't played consistently tournaments in a row for quite a while, so that's going to be, I'm looking forward to that.
How hard will you find that? Will that be hard physically and hard mentally to do?
Yeah, again, I'll answer that in a month's time. I've done a bit of practice. I haven't done as intensively practice as I'd like to. I haven't been able to get the gym work as I'd like to, but I'm still stretching. I'm doing quite a bit of swimming. Even though I'm travelling a lot, I'm getting to do quite a lot of swimming, which I've always done in my career, which keeps me fit. And yeah, I'm looking forward to competing and getting out there and playing.
And how much are you going to get to Croke Park this year with all of these commitments?
Not a lot. Maybe the hurling final this year. I was at the football final last year and went to a number of matches. But I have got...
Are you anticipating Dublin being in the hurling final this year?
I wouldn't rule it out. To be honest, as a real dub, if you offered me now Dublin to win the hurling or the football, I'd like to see them win the hurling.
I know you played a lot of Gaelic football and only injury and you damaged your knee stopped you. Did you hurl as well?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I played senior hurling here in Dublin. Not with Dublin, but with the club.
Okay. How useful is that to your golf subsequently? Is there any crossover between swinging those arms?
I don't think so. I mean, the start is the right hand on top and the hurl always was difficult, and the left hand with the golf club. But hand-eye coordination, it's always there. And I think that, you know, you asked me the question earlier about going back to my, you know, why have I played well in the team? And I really have no doubt that Gaelic and hurling played a big part in that.
Okay, just to finish up, Paul McGinley, if you weren't to win the Ryder Cup this year, how much of a blow would that be to you?
It would be a blow, of course it would. I mean, we've won 7 of the last 9. I understand the pressures that are there for me as captain. I'm following some very successful captains and big boots to fill. The last 2 particularly, Jose Maria Lasval and Colin Montgomery, both winning captains, won by the narrowest of margins. Great excitement, massive viewing figures. Both tournaments are going down as you know, 2 of the greatest golf events ever staged. I understand all those pressures that are there, but I've enjoyed. I've been captain now probably 18 months. It's been a great thrill and a great honour. I've really enjoyed it. But I have to say, the next 6 months are going to be the most exciting of all. I'm really looking forward to pitting my wits against Tom Watson and pitting my wits against the players on both teams, and getting psychology right in our team, and getting the tactics right in our team, and working with other people, working with my vice captains and working with the players as well too, and hopefully getting a good result. So I'm really looking forward to the challenge ahead.
There's lots of great sport for us to enjoy in the months ahead between the World Cup and the All-Irelands, the hurling and football, but I know we're going to enjoy all of this, starting with the US Open this weekend. And actually, I need a tip from you. Who's going to win the US Open?
I don't know.
European or American?
Players. Of course, I want a European, absolutely. So I don't know. I think that it's so hard to pick. I mean, the Masters is a lot easier to pick than you've got 156 players here. So hard to pick. I just like to see jostling position the first 2 days, and I might have a better idea at the weekend.
Very good. Okay, well, best luck. I hope the Ryder Cup works out fantastically for you. We look forward to it in September.